Hey guys, so today we're going to be examining the 5 luckiest moments in My Hero Academia. So, what that means in practice is that something happened that was like super unlikely, or on the other hand, maybe it was plausible, but the pieces just fell together a bit too perfectly. So, to help me go through this list today is my fellow YouTuber Shonin, not Zonin, as I mistakenly as I called you in our last video. So, this is my redemption. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing fantastic. And to everybody in the comments giving Turtle crap, be nice, guys. But I appreciate the backup.
But yeah, so just so everyone knows, I've listed my top 5 moments. Shonen doesn't know about this, so it'll be interesting to see your reaction. And then after we've gone through all that, we'll I think you've written down like a few moments that you may have that potentially I might not have covered.
I do. I have a good one that I think you might not have thought of.
Okay, okay. Starting at 5th place, the one that I put down was Deku bumping into Gentle Criminal just before the cultural festival. So this one had quite a few coincidences in there. So just as one example, the morning of, right, Hatsume kind of gives Deku the Air Force gloves. Like he wasn't expecting it at this time, right? So she worked and she gave it to him before the cultural festival was over, which he wasn't expecting. And so because of that, he spent all morning practicing with them, which meant that when he went to the shops, he was, later than he expected. And then obviously, he happens to bump into Gentle at that moment, which wouldn't have happened obviously if he wasn't late. And then because Gentle, I think he made a comment about like the tea he just drank or something. And then it just so happened that Deku had drank that same tea when Yaoyorozu gave it to everyone. This is all just fitting together so perfectly. But luckily, I mean, it all worked out well because, Deku was able to save the cultural festival and everything. But what did you think? Was that a bit of a lucky moment or no, in your opinion?
Well, definitely. I didn't even think about that moment because I more so thought it was just coincidental and is, of course, needed for the plot. But now that I'm thinking about it, definitely lucky, definitely necessary. But I wouldn't say that it was like completely out of the norm because I mean you just laid out all of um, the pieces right there. Like you have like the one little piece at the bottom. I don't know if you've seen that meme, but there's like a meme where it's like you knock one little piece over and then it knocks over huge pieces behind it and it winds up being like something massive. So like in this instance, it would be like Deku practicing or Deku getting his Air Force gloves early, and then the end result would be him like having this epic fight with Gentle.
So moving on to 4th, I had so this is the moment when Ida was literally about to be killed by the hero killer Stain, and Deku shows up at like just the right moment, like just before the Stain is about to kill Tenya. Deku goes on this search through all the different alleyways of the local area to see if he can find Tenya. And listen, I know Deku's a fast guy, but the odds of him coming at just the right moment, just before his friend is about to die, like that was for tenure at least, that was super like coincidental and yeah, really fortunate. What do you think?
Okay, so I'm glad you got this. This was one of my minor things I wrote down, so we got that
Okay.
out of the way. But I thought about this a lot myself when I rewatched this sequence because I always go back time and time again, watch seasons 1 through 4 now, but this scene, I mean, the exact thought pattern ran through my head. I was like, okay, so at least we have the groundwork here. At least he is actively looking for Ida here. I mean, it's not like
Yeah.
he's just blindly going around. And I don't know, what was his reasoning for exactly finding him? He was like, I'm just going to go and look through the alleyways because that's where Stain attacks people.
Yeah, so this was actually like a really good display of his intelligence. So he did have logic. He was like, this is the city where Stain's attacking, and Stain he always attacks in the alleyways, and he could see that Ida wasn't with the guy who he was interning with. So he was like, okay, so maybe Ida's fighting the hero killer, which is a bit of a big leap, but it's a logical leap. Like there's things to back it up, I guess. So that was why he was looking through the alleyways. But I'm assuming there's quite a lot of alleyways. So to come at the right one at the right time was
There's
yeah,
got to
that
be
was that was
hundreds. I mean, I'm just thinking about the city I live in, and then I don't. Even if I could move at the speed of what was he at this point, 5%?
uh yeah, something like that.
Still moving superhuman speeds. Even then, you need to have a bit of luck on your side. So this definitely deserves number 4.
Moving on to 3rd place, the one I put down for this was a bit of luck. So this was during the overhaul arc when basically the guys they were like storming forward, and essentially Aizawa was about to be pushed into that room with Rapper and Tengai. Aizawa just gets pushed to the side, and then Fat Gum comes out of nowhere and literally just saves him. I just thought it was really lucky for Aizawa because when we look at that matchup, Rapper is someone who doesn't actually really need his quirk to be strong. So Aizawa could, he's up against two guys. He has to look at the guy with the barrier quirk. Meanwhile, Rapper's there who doesn't really need his quirk to fight. So it would have been a really difficult matchup. I think Aizawa may not have come out of that alive. And I'm a big Aizawa fan. I don't underestimate him, but it would have been super difficult.
I agree. I was while you were saying it, I was thinking of the possible outs that he could have had, and it's like it's not looking good because even if he just wanted to immediately use the capture scarf on like Rappa or something, then he'd have to deal with the barrier, which I assume would stop it.
Exactly, yeah.
And then if he's shutting off the barrier, then he's preoccupied on, looking at him, stopping the barrier, then trying to use the capture scarf. And then he has to worry about Rappa's shoulder quirk or whatever the name of it is. I know that he says it in the volume, but I don't think they say it in the anime, right?
Yeah, no, they don't. I mean, it's just rotating shoulders, probably something like that.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it is. But man, Aizawa, aside from having his eraser head quirk, he's basically just a typical person in that world. I mean, yeah, they have like an enhanced level of strength and durability because they're pro heroes, but still, like he probably would have gotten wrecked by Rappa in that situation. So definitely lucky that Fat Gum got out there and stopped him.
Fat Gun was almost like the perfect, like if they could have picked anyone, Fat Gun probably would have been that guy because, I mean, as we saw, he absorbed all the punches and then just gave it straight back. So
you can also add that to the luck element here because like that I mean, there was probably other people that could have taken care of Rappa, but not, the way that it needed to be done at that time. And it was like, even me reading that arc for the first time in that chapter, I was like, how are they going to get out of this? He's getting destroyed. And it's like, oh no, wait. Yeah. Okay, he has an out to it. It makes sense because, that's just something that happens with character archetypes like that.
So moving on to second place, everyone, I think, accepts that this was a bit of plot armor, which I really loved. I wouldn't take this out of the series. Like, I really love this moment, but it was super lucky. So this happened during season 2, during the sports festival, when Deku was facing up against Shinzo in the first, I think it was the first match of the one-to-one battles. And obviously Shinzo brainwashes him. Deku was told about his quirk, but for some reason, I guess he just forgot. And Shinzo brainwashes him. He's walking out the ring. He's about to lose. And just before he takes that final step to, lose the match, the vestiges of the past users of One For All are like, nah, bro, you're staying in this competition. And they just like break his fingers and he stays in the ring. Now, when I was watching this for the first time, I was like, oh my God, this is so awesome. Like, this is amazing. But obviously, when you're thinking about, the luckiest moments, I'd say that would have to be one of the most lucky ever. Because without spoiling anything, in the anime up to this point, we've only seen the vestiges one more time, and that was, during the post credits for season 4. So they don't pop up every day. They don't pop up every week. So yeah, that was a really lucky moment for Deku. But what do you think?
So you bring up that we haven't seen them, and technically we haven't literally seen them, but we have been made aware of their existence before that point. And I wanted to loop that into this moment because this is lucky for sure. There's no doubt about it. You can call it many things. Like you said, you can call it luck. You can call it shonen butt pull, plot device, armor, all that stuff. But I think this ultimately boils down to why I think One For All is the best quirk, because it can do this stuff. Because like All For One, definitely one of the best, probably the second best quirk, but it does not have these fail-safe measures built into it the way that One For All does. Because like what I was saying, when we are made aware that vestiges exist, although we're not exactly aware of what we're looking at that point, it's when All Might taps into the vestige's power to take out the USJ Nomu, which does happen in the anime and not in the manga, but I think that's on purpose because Horikoshi was probably retconning it maybe. That, I mean, maybe you're going to talk about it in the next moment, but I think that All Might tapping into the vestige at that moment is just as lucky as Izuku tapping into the vestiges and then making him, activate his fingers to break them to, save him from Shinso at that moment. I mean, it all just goes back to like, wow, that is a crazy ability that seemingly no other quirk is capable of doing.
Yeah, and the thing that makes it weird with Deku though was the fact that he's brainwashed, so he's not really thinking. Like he's just he's almost like a zombie. I mean, if he didn't have the vestiges on his side, he would have like walked straight out. So they are almost conscious and were like, we need to help him in this situation. So yeah, that is just one of the many things that makes One For All so amazing. But yeah, I guess we should get into the number 1 spot. So Deku getting the One For All quirk in the first place. Now, we all know that Deku is a massive All Might fan. Ever since he was a little kid, all he wanted to be was just like All Might. And then one day, he gets attacked by the sludge villain, and who saves him? All Might. Okay, so that's a bit lucky in itself. And we could have just left it there, but there's a series of events that occur after that that lead to Deku getting the power of the guy that he admires most in the world. And what's crazy is that he was actually offered the power on the same day that he just happened to bump into him. Like, what a crazy day! Like waking up that morning quirkless and then going to bed that night knowing, oh, I'm gonna get the power of my favorite hero. So I consider this to be like the luckiest thing to happen to anyone ever in My Hero Academia or in the real world. It's actually just insane.
Absolutely. I knew this was going to be number one, and if not, it was going to be number one. It was going to be number two because it is. It's insane that this happened, and I thought of, just like I was thinking about the other, so I thought about this too. I was like, wow, how lucky is it for him, Izuku, to run into his idol conveniently, and
Yeah,
then also get his power at the same time, become his protege. I mean, because like, yeah, All Might is in Japan and stuff like that, but like, he's not like always where Izuku is. Like, even him showing up, people were like, oh my god, All Might's here. How unexpected. I mean, also, he was there because he was like in the general vicinity because I don't remember the exact timeline, but I know that he was going to try to go talk to Mirio or something. And it wound up that, he ran into Izuku instead. But still, that happening regardless, the probability is insane.
yeah. I mean, it would have been lucky to just meet All Might in the first place. Like that first encounter that they had, he gave him the autograph and everything. If it had ended at that, that would have been lucky in itself. So the fact that it then continued on to all, everything else that happened is pretty crazy. And I think sometimes I wonder, like, how much would the timeline have changed had this, coincidental meeting not taken place?
I just imagine it'd be such a sad series at that point because Mirio would get one for all, most likely.
Yeah,
And then Izuku just stays quirkless watching Bakugo go on to be the number one student at UA. It
yeah.
would just be so sad.
I feel like Deku would become a vigilante though. Obviously, as a quirkless guy, there's only so far you can go with that stuff, right?
Exactly. But I mean, I think it is fair to say that he would have did something like that. And I think that would have also made for an interesting story, seeing how a quirkless human can actually try to become somewhat of a pro hero, officially or not.
Yeah, much to think about. Much to think about. But moving on. So I've listed my five. What are the ones that you have that maybe I didn't mention?
All right, so here's my biggest one. We'll just start off with this one. And this is kind of gaggy, kind of skillful, but undeniably lucky. All right, so we're
Okay,
going to go
okay.
back to when you were talking about the whole thing about Izuku showing up where Ida was with the whole stain thing.
Yeah.
Well, we're just going to go a few sequences after that because Izuku straight up takes his phone out, puts it behind his back with with
Wow.
gloves on, and somehow texts his location to Todoroki.
Yeah.
And then Todoroki gets there.
He actually has gloves on. How did he do that? It's pretty crazy.
No, it's
Um,
one of the most impressive feats in the series, easily.
yeah. Oh, for sure, for sure.
Because first
I
of all,
mean,
just text behind your back. That's a friggin' crazy achievement in itself. But then you have those thick hero gloves on that he has. Like, they're not made for cell phones. They're for fighting and stuff.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh man, what when I'm thinking about it, why did he even need to put it behind his back? I mean, it's not like the hero killer would have. I don't. Why did he need to do that? I don't know.
Hey, put that away. Heroes don't use phones.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, what would have happened if he didn't do that? Oh man, that's actually a good one. That's a really good one.
All right, so another one we got in the beginning of season 3.
Hmm.
Tokoyami goes on his rampage. Seemingly, no one can stop him at this point. He's just way too powerful for even the Vanguard Action Squad and the students. The only one that would really be able to stop him at this point is Aizawa, but conveniently, Todoroki and Bakugo are there with the light to stop him. And I always thought that, like, okay, so they could have easily not been there. There was a whole bunch of little groups and people going on. They could have been knocked out by the gas. A whole bunch of things could have happened for them to not be in the area where Tokoyami was rampaging. So, like, if they weren't there, like, what would have happened? I
Yeah.
always thought about that.
No, that's actually a really good point because I mean, there were so many students who weren't there. So the idea that specifically Todoroki and Bakugo are the ones that show up, that is pretty lucky actually. And if they weren't there, I mean, I guess he would have just continued on his rampage, right? I mean, the thing about when he was in that form is that he was attacking people like indiscriminately, like it didn't matter who they were. So I feel like he would have been more of an asset to the villains at that point if he kept on rampaging rather than the heroes.
Exactly. I mean, unless he didn't get a hold of them, because as soon as he like grabbed Moonfish, he was done. I mean, he was exited from the series after that point. Yeah, but that's all I got, and yeah.
No, well, thank you for coming on the channel, man. Those are some really good ones, especially the gloves one. Like
Look into it.
guys, if you haven't checked out Shonen already, then do be sure to check out his channel. He's on the road to 60K. He's almost there. So if you can subscribe to him, that'd be massive thanks. Thanks for watching, guys, and peace out.